Hello and welcome to the 2021 Master World's Virtual Weightlifting Championships. I'm your announcer, Jamie Willett Brown in the USA. We have had 56 sessions of contests, some with multiple platforms occurring virtually around the globe in 3 different time zones of Asia, Europe, and the Americas, for more than 800 master weightlifting athletes, ranging in ages from 35 to 86. We are now in the final session. It's session 56 on America's Platform 1, where we're contesting our men in the 35 age group, 96, 102, 109, and 109 plus categories. I'm pleased to introduce those athletes to you. In the 96 category, we have 5 athletes. Number 1, Nicholas Reganey of USA. Number 2, Jonathan Bowers, USA. Number 3, Pedro Hernandez Linares of El Salvador. Number 4, David Spur, Canada. Number 5, Logan Dobbs, USA. In the 102 category, we have 2 athletes. Number 6, Billy Goodwin, USA. Number 7, Eric McGill of the USA. In the 109 category, we have 3 athletes. Number 8, James Succi, USA. Number 9, Thomas Dewar, USA. Number 10, David Ether, USA. And in the 109 plus category, Sigfredo Rivera of USA. I'll also introduce our technical officials for this session, coming from 3 different countries. Referee 1, Paula Paulin of Canada. Referee 2, Jana Burhow, USA. Athlete 3, Daniela Jansen of Germany. And our technical director and reserve referee, Greg Sonovan of USA. I'm grateful for the privilege to work with and want to give credit to our amazing support team of technicians, broadcasters, and scorekeepers at USA who have contributed throughout this week. The IWF Masters Committee organizers would also like to thank all the athletes and coaches who have participated in the 2021 World Masters Virtual Weightlifting Championships. We have a special thanks to the federations of Ireland, Norway, and Great Britain who have stepped up and offered their help throughout this championships. We have just about 1 minute before we will call our first athlete. We've had some ground rules that we've laid out for coaches and athletes. We're doing our best to emulate the elements of an in-person meet. Our timekeepers and Marshall will be entering the weight changes as they're received from coaches in the Zoom chat. Unlike in-person contests, the bar will always be considered loaded and the clock will start immediately after name and weight are announced. We'll follow the orders of lifting as in our official rules, with the exception of a 3-minute clock granted to masters athletes if they are following themselves for this virtual contest. Please be reminded that first declaration must be made within 30 seconds of the athlete being called. Our clock has now run down and we'll get set for our first athlete. 1 minute for Eric McGill, athlete 7, Team USA. 108 kilos on the bar for McGill. Hernandez to follow. Good lift for Miguel on his opening attempt. 109 is the automatic. Eric will keep a 3-minute clock. Hernandez Linares waiting for the change. And there's the change. 110 kilos on the bar. Athlete 3, Pedro Hernandez Linares of El Salvador, the lifter. First attempt for Pedro, 110 kilos on the bar. Goodwin to follow.
Pero no lo han hecho. Vamos. Dale.
Good lift for Hernandez on his first attempt. 110 kilos remains on the bar. Athlete 6, Billy Goodwin of USA, our lifter. First attempt for Billy, 110 kilos on the bar. Hernandez Linares to follow. No lift for Goodwin on first attempt. He'll have a 3-minute clock, opportunity to repeat 110 for second attempt. Goodwin in the 102 weight category. And 2 minutes on the clock for Billy Goodwin of USA. 110 kilo second attempt for Goodwin. McGill to follow. Clock down to 1 minute for athlete 6, Billy Goodwin, Team USA. Second attempt at 110 kilos for Billy. McGill to follow.
Come on, let's go.
No lift for Goodwin on second attempt. He'll retain a 3-minute clock. Wants to make 110 kilos on his third attempt. And 2 minutes remains for Billy Goodwin of USA. Here's Billy Goodwin, Team USA, 110 kilo, third attempt. McGill to follow. Good lift for Goodwin on his third attempt. 112 kilos on the bar. Athlete 7, Eric McGill, the lifter of Team USA. Second attempt for Eric at this 112 kilos. Bowers to follow. Good lift for McGill on his opening attempt. $112 kilos. Second attempt for Eric McGill. 3-minute clock has started. He moves up. Okay, go. Bowers, the lifter. First attempt for Jonathan Bowers. Now, and that's a no lift.
What?
I would mention I hadn't called him to the platform because my scoreboard got a little bit bogged down there. All right, the referees are on top of things. All right, we have a 1-minute clock now. I haven't called Pedro Hernandez Linares for 113 kilo second attempt. No lift for Hernandez Linares on his second attempt. 113 kilos remains. Athlete 2, Jonathan Bowers of USA, the athlete. Bowers, the lifter. 113 kilos, second attempt.
There it is.
Good lift for Bowers. 113 remains on the bar. Athlete 3, Pedro Hernandez Linares of El Salvador, the lifter. Third attempt for Pedro, 113 kilos. Reganey to follow. No lift for Hernandez Linares on third attempt. 115 kilos on the bar. Athlete number 1, Nicholas Reganey of USA, the lifter. 115 kilo first attempt for Nicholas. Rivera to follow. Good lift for Reganey on his opening attempt. 115 remains the weight. Athlete 11, Sigfredo Rivera of USA, the lifter.
All right, you got it.
Sigfredo in the 109 plus category. 115 kilo first attempt. McGill to follow.
Hold.
Yeah. Down.
Good lift for Rivera on his first attempt. He'll have a 3-minute clock, 1 kilo automatic increase for a second attempt, 116 kilos. McGill waiting for the 116 on third attempt. And there's a change on Rivera. This brings McGill to the platform. Athlete 7, Eric McGill, USA, 116 kilos, third attempt. Bowers to follow. No lift for McGill on third attempt. 117 will now go on the bar. Third attempt of athlete 2, Jonathan Bowers, USA. Reganey to follow.
Okay, let's go. I'll pull it, punch it, let's go. Let's go!
Good lift for Bowers on third attempt. 119 kilos will go on the bar. Athlete 1, Nicholas Reganey, USA, the athlete. Second attempt, 119 kilos for Nicholas. Spur to follow. Reganey on second attempt. 120 kilos will go on the bar. Athlete 4, David Spur of Canada, our lifter. David in the 96 weight category. So first attempt, 120 kilos on the bar for David. Thank you. Camera is good.
Ready, buddy, come on.
Lots of time. Lots of time.
Rivera to follow. No lift for Spur on his opening attempt. 120 will stay on the bar. Lifter 11, Sigfredo Rivera of USA, the lifter. Second attempt for Sigfredo, 120 kilos. Spur to follow.
Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Down.
And that's a good lift for Rivera at 120. Spur, the next athlete, number 4, David Spur of Canada, 120.
Okay, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, make this happen. Come on. Come on. You got this. You got this.
No lift for Spur at 120. He'll retain the clock 3 minutes for a third attempt for David Spur of Canada. Rivera waiting. Just under 2 minutes for athlete David Spur of Canada, waiting for a third attempt at 120 kilos.
It's not fun, buddy. Just smash it. Smash this shit all day long. Come on. Come on, man. Down. Down. Yeah.
Good lift for Spur on his third attempt. 121 now the weight. Make that 123. Lifter 1, Nicholas Reganey of USA, the athlete. Third attempt for Nicholas, 123 kilos on the bar. Rivera to follow.
Yes, 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 yes.
Good lift for Reganey on his third attempt, finishing 3 for 3 in the snatch. Our next lifter, Sigfredo Rivero, 127 kilo, third attempt for
Your weight, clock running.
Sigfredo.
Go, here we go, here we go. Go, baby. Go. Go, baby. You got it.
Dobbs to follow.
Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Down.
No lift for Rivera on third attempt. bar will raise to 130 kilos. Athlete 5, Logan Dobbs of USA, the lifter. First attempt for Logan, 130 kilos on the bar. Logan in the 96 weight category. Ethier to follow. Good lift for Dobbs on his first attempt. 130 stays the weight. Athlete 10, David Ethier of USA, our lifter. David in the 109 category. First attempt, 130 kilos. Suchi to follow.
Down.
Good lift for Ethier on his first attempt, 131 on the bar. Athlete 8, James Suchi of USA, 109 category, 131 kilo first attempt for James. Dobbs to follow. No lift for Susie. I'd also like to bring to your attention, Susie's camera feed is very slow. Susie will remain the lifter. 3-minute clock has started for his second attempt at 131. Now down to 2 minutes for James Susi of USA. Second attempt, 131 kilos on the bar. One minute for James Susi, Team USA. 131 kilos, second attempt. Dobbs to follow. Camera's freezing up for me. My view has frozen. I believe the Referees were also unable to witness. So we'll give a 3-minute clock for James Susi. Repeat on third attempt. You may want to turn your audio off. It might help your video feed. Two-minute 30 seconds for Susi. Third attempt at 131.
Try to point that one at your platform. Looks like we might have a better feed from that. Yep.
That's a good angle.
Did Mr. Trey go yet? Ooh.
So 1 minute 35 seconds for James Susi, number 8 of USA. 131 kilo third attempt. Dobbs to follow.
Yeah.
James Susi, USA, 131 kilo third attempt.
Come on, Jim. Get it.
No lift for Susi on his third attempt. He will not be able to finish with a total, so he will be removed from the clean and jerk portion of the program. VAR now goes to 135 kilos. A second attempt for athlete 5, Logan Dobbs of USA. Dobbs, the 96 category. A second attempt for Logan, 135 kilos. Ethier to follow. No lift for Dobbs on second attempt. 135 remains on the bar. Athlete becomes number 10, David Ethier, USA. Second attempt for David, 135 kilos. Dobbs to follow.
Down.
Good lift for Ethier on second attempt. 135 stays the weight. Athlete 5, Logan Dobbs, the lifter. A third attempt for Dobbs. Ethier to follow. No lift for Dobbs on his third attempt. 136 goes on the bar. Athlete becomes number 10, David Ethier, USA. 136 kilo third attempt for David. Dewar to follow. And he moves up to 38. David Ethier remains the athlete. 138 on the bar.
I did.
And he moves up more. 139 kilos.
Wait a second, I gotta start the clock.
David Ethier, 25 seconds. No lift for Ethier on third attempt. Brings us to our final athlete, number 9, Thomas Dewar of USA. Thomas in the 109 weight category. 145 kilo first attempt for Thomas.
Come on, Tom. Nice and strong. Let's go.
Here we go, Tom.
Hold it.
No lift for Dewar on his first attempt. He'll have a 3-minute clock. Opportunity to repeat 145 for second attempt. I'll remind all athletes and coaches that we will have a 10-minute break following Thomas's third snatch. We have for a warm-up clock before returning for clean and jerks.
That's it. Let's go.
And 2-minute 30 remains for Thomas Dewar, USA.
You got 225.
So you think it is? Could we catch?
Yep. They tied up top. Come on, let's go.
Here we go.
Hold it.
Yeah.
There you go. Down. Down.
Good lift for Dewar on his second attempt. 146, the automatic increase for Dewar. 3-minute clock begins.
Silly goose.
He's requesting 150 kilos. Third attempt for Dewar, now at 150 kilos.
Well, and honestly, you usually get the first sit down at your last work. I was thinking about bringing me on warm up.
235. Plenty of time.
Just go.
How's my? You have plenty of time. 220. Yep.
You're supposed to be sitting down.
I'm good.
Okay.
Like a shark.
2 minutes on the clock for Thomas Dewar, USA.
Well, it's Peloton now. He doesn't need to rest.
Cool.
140. Come on. Let's go.
Here we go.
Oh,
Get it.
yeah, down.
Good lift for a doer on his third attempt.
Silly little
That
opener.
does finish the snatch for our men 35 age group, 96, 102, 109, 109 plus on America's One platform, the 2021 World Master Virtual Weightlifting Championships. We'll return in 10 minutes for clean and jerks. Welcome back to our final and 56th session of the 2021 Master World Championships. We're ready to start our clean and jerk for our men's 35 on the Americas Platform 1, the 96, 102, 109, and 109 plus categories. And our clock has expired. We'll set a 1-minute clock for Pedro Hernandez Linares of El Salvador. First attempt for Pedro, 135 kilos on the bar. Pedro in the 96 weight category. Goodwin to follow. Good lift for Hernandez Linares on his first attempt. 135 stays on the bar. Athlete 6, Billy Goodwin of USA, the lifter.
Come on, let's go.
First attempt for Billy, 135 kilos. Linares to follow.
Come on, come on. Sit, get set, drive it back. Come on, drive it. Hold down.
No lift for Goodwin on his first attempt. He'll have a 3-minute clock to repeat 135 for a second attempt. Goodwin lifting in the 102 category for USA. Two-minute remains for Billy Goodwin. Second attempt.
One minute.
Billy
Okay.
Goodwin, USA, 135 kilos, second attempt. Bowers to follow.
Sit, get up, get up, get up, get up. Come on, come on.
So you got
Legs, legs, come on.
Let's go.
Hold.
No lift for Goodwin on second attempt. He'll be granted 3 minutes Come back, make 135 on his third attempt. Bowers, the athlete to follow. Goodwin, our lifter. Change not be accepted. $135 remains on the bar for the third attempt of Billy Goodwin of USA. One minute 40 left on the clock. Our athlete, Billy Goodwin of USA, 102 category, 135 kilo, third attempt for Billy. Bowers to follow. And that's no lift for Goodwin on his third attempt, unable to post a total. 137 will now go on the bar. Athlete 2, Jonathan Bowers of USA, the athlete, 137 on the bar, first attempt. Hernandez Linares to follow.
Yes.
Good lift for Bowers on first attempt. 138 goes on the bar. Athlete 3, Pedro Hernandez Linares of El Salvador, the lifter. Second attempt for Pedro, 138 kilos. And that's no lift for Hernandez Linares, second attempt. 138 remains on the bar. 3-minute clock for Pedro has started. 2 minutes for Pedro of El Salvador, 138 kilo third attempt. One minute remains for Hernandez Linares, athlete 3, El Salvador. 138 on the bar. Regaining the athlete to follow. No lift for Hernandez Linares on the third attempt. He does finish with 245 kilos. Our next athlete, also in the 96 category, number 1, Nicholas Reganey of USA.
Let's go.
140 kilo first attempt for Nicholas.
Let's go.
McGill to follow. And that's a good lift for Reganey on first attempt. 140 kilos on the bar. Or athlete 7, Eric McGill of USA. McGill in the 102 category. First attempt. Good lift for McGill at 140. He keeps the clock for the automatic to 141 for his second. 3-minute clock starts on McGill, Team USA. Bowers waiting for the change. And McGill does move up. This brings number 2, Jonathan Bowers, to the camera. 142 kilos, second attempt for Jonathan, Team USA. Reganey to follow. Good lift for Bowers at 142. He'll get a 1 kilo automatic increase and a 3-minute clock for his third attempt. The automatic. Reganey waiting for the change. And there's the change. Reganey now the athlete. Second attempt for Nicholas Reganey, athlete 1, USA.
Let's wait 15 seconds.
Second attempt at 145 kilos for Nicholas.
All right, next lift coming. Lift number 2.
McGill to follow.
Come on,
More. Yes. Go, 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 go.
And the camera has frozen up for Reganey. There's no lift for Reganey. The camera feed had locked up and the referees were unable to watch his lift. 145 will stay. Eric McGill, number 7 of USA, the athlete. Second attempt for Eric, 145 kilos. Bowers to follow. No lift for Miguel on second attempt. 145 will stay the weight. Athlete is number 2, Jonathan Bowers, USA. Third attempt for Jonathan, 145 kilos. McGill to follow. No lift for Bowers on third attempt. He finishes with 259 kilos in the 96 category. Bar remains at 145 kilos. Athlete 7, Eric McGill, Team USA, the lifter. Spur to follow. And that's a no lift for McGill on his third attempt. 150 kilos on the bar. The first attempt of athlete 4, David Spur of Canada. Spur in the 96 category. First attempt for David.
45 seconds.
150 kilos. Reganey to follow.
Punch. Down.
Good lift for Spur on opening attempt. 151, the automatic gives him 3 minutes for a second attempt. Reganey waiting for the change. And Spur moves up. This brings athlete 1, Nicholas Reganey of USA, to the platform. 152 kilo, third attempt for Nicholas.
Whenever you're ready. Yeah, let's see it.
Spur to follow.
Come on, last one.
Reganey on third attempt. He finishes with a 275 kilo total in the 96 class. Our next athlete is number 4, David Spur of Canada. David in the 96 class. Second attempt, 155 kilos. Now requesting more weight, 156. Spur remains the lifter. Clock continues. Dobbs to follow.
Yeah. 20 seconds. 20. Full extension. Unity punch. Hold it. Down.
Good lift for Spur on second attempt. 157. Automatic for Spur gives him a 3-minute clock for third attempt. Dobbs waiting for the change. And Spur moves up. This will bring athlete 5 Logan Dobbs of USA to the platform. Logan in the 96 category. So first attempt, 160 kilos on the bar. Doer to follow. Good lift for Dobbs on opening attempt. 160 kilos remains the weight.
Come on,
Athlete
Tom.
9, Thomas Doer of USA, our lifter. First attempt for Thomas. 160 kilos on the bar.
Let's go. Come on.
Thomas in the 109 weight category. Rivera to follow.
There you go. Come on.
Come on.
Good.
Do it.
Down.
No lift.
So no lift for Doer. The feed is a little bit slow there. Referees. 160 kilos will stay on the bar. Athlete number 11, Sigfredo Rivera of USA, our athlete. Sigfredo in the 109 plus category. It's a first attempt. 160 kilos on the bar. Dobbs to follow.
Let's go.
Yep.
You got it. Up. Slays. Race.
Go.
Reach on it. Down. You good?
No lift for Rivera on first attempt. He'll retain the clock 3 minutes for a repeat at 160 kilos, second attempt for Rivera of USA. We're in our final session of the 2021 Virtual Masters World Championships. I'll take this moment to give a great amount of appreciation to all the officials, organizers, and support staff, as well as the athletes and coaches who've made these virtual championships a possibility. Clock down to 2 minutes for Sigfredo Rivera of USA, 160 kilos on the bar. Sigfredo Rivera.
Minute.
Second attempt, 160 kilos. Dobbs to follow.
Speed.
You got it, 40 seconds. Strong, clean. That's it, that's it. Yep.
No lift for Sigfredo Rivera on second attempt. He'll have another 3-minute clock to make 160 on his third. Two-minute remains for Sigfredo Rivera of USA. Third attempt. 160 kilos on the bar. They're in the 109+ category.
Let's go.
Athlete Sigfredo Rivera, USA. 160 kilo third attempt. Dobbs to follow.
Get focused, you want it, get it. Strong, clean, believe it, 40 seconds.
Got this. Yeah, guys, make it down.
There you go, come on now, get, use legs. Good, get your air, you got this, get your air, get this. Reach on it, down, yes!
Good lift for Rivera on his third attempt, giving him a 280 kilo total. Bar will now go to 161 kilos. Make that 164 64 kilos. Athlete 5, Logan Dobbs of USA, the athlete. A second attempt for Logan, lifting in the 96 category. 164 kilos on the bar. Ethier to follow.
Plenty of time.
No lift for Dobbs on second attempt at 164. He'll retain the clock 3 minutes for Dobbs for 164 on third attempt. Ethier to follow. And he chooses to move up. This will bring athlete 10, David Ethier of USA, to the camera. David in the 109 category. First attempt for David. Athlete 10, the lifter. 165 kilo.
Ken, start your video, please.
We're having a lack of video for 10. Athlete 10. There we go. You have video. Good lift for Ethier on his first attempt. 165 will remain on the bar. Athlete 9, Thomas Dewar of USA, the athlete.
Okay, now.
Thomas in the 109 category.
Let's go, Tom. Come on.
Second attempt for Thomas.
Let's go. Come on.
165 kilos.
Come on,
Third
Hot Tom.
to follow.
Yes.
Good. Stay there. Come on.
Yes.
Push.
Down.
Yeah.
Good lift for Dewar on second attempt. 165 kilos remains. Athlete number 4, David Spur of Canada. David in the 96 category. 165 kilos on the bar. Third attempt for David. Dobbs to follow. No lift for Spur on third attempt. He finishes with 276 kilo total in the 96 class. Bars at 165. Athlete 5, Logan Dobbs of USA, the athlete. Dobbs also in the 96 category. Third attempt. Ethier to follow. No lift for Dobbs on the third attempt. He finishes with a 290 kilo total in the 96 group. Bar will now rise to 171 kilos. Athlete 10, David Ethier of USA, the athlete. 171, second attempt for David.
Good. Yeah.
Doer to follow. Right down to our final two athletes. Good lift for Ethier on second attempt. 172, the automatic gives David a 3-minute clock for third attempt. Ethier remains the lifter with a 172 third attempt. Doer to follow. Final two athletes for this session, which is the final session of our 2021 World Masters Virtual Weightlifting Championships. The clock has stopped. I'm not sure why. So our clock is hanging at 2 minutes for David Ethier. And there it goes. Just a small lag. Still 1 minute, 25 seconds for David Ethier of Team USA. Now requesting more weight. This will bring a change in athlete.
Right.
Thomas Doer, athlete 9 USA,
Go.
the lifter. A third attempt for Doer, 175 kilos.
Let's go. Come on.
Bump it clean.
Let's go, little buddy. Yes. Good. Get your air. Come on.
Here we go. Keep pushing.
Yep. Yep. Down. Oh my God.
Good lift for Doer on third attempt, finishing with a 325 kilo total in the 109 class. Our athlete now, number 10, David Ethier, USA, third and final clean and jerk of these championships. 177 kilos on the bar for David.
Yep. 40 seconds.
No lift for Ethier on third attempt, finishing with a 306 kilo total in the 109 class. And that concludes our lifting for the Masters 35 age group, 96, 102, 109, 109 plus on the America's Platform 2. And it concludes the lifting for our 2021 World Masters Virtual Weightlifting Championships. Again, thank you to all of you, to all who have made these possible.